Good morning. Today, we're going to learn how to construct a bar graph. I have added some data for us in the chart in the left-hand corner of this paper that shows different weather and different temperatures for Raleigh, North Carolina. We're going to start with making a simple bar graph on the types of weather we would see in Raleigh over the course of a week. The first thing that you want to do in making a bar graph, I always come into kind of a corner of where the boxes meet, and I want to go a little bit further down the page because I need to make sure I have enough room to draw my two lines. And first I'm going to draw a horizontal axis, so it's going to be a straight line, and I would use your lines to help you get a nice neat straight line. And then I want to put an arrow at the end to let me know that it really could go on longer if I needed it. I'm going to now go back to this space where I put the dot, and now I want to draw my vertical line going straight up, right? And I want in that line to make sure that I have enough room, and put an arrow there as well, okay? The next thing I want to think about is I want to think about the kind of weather that we do have in Raleigh-Durham. So I'm going to go across my horizontal line, and I'm going to go not to the first row, but I'm going to the second row, and I'm going to write the word sunny because we do have sunny weather here. So I'm going to print. When you're making a graph, I know a lot of us use cursive in class, but when we're making a graph, you actually want to print. It is easier to read and to fit in the spaces that you want. So we're going to have sunny, and then we want to skip a row. So I'm going to come back and show you in a minute why we skip those rows. We can have partly cloudy weather, which means that it's a little sunny and a little cloudy. Again, I'm going to skip that next row. We can have cloudy weather. And we can have rainy weather. Okay. And notice in between each one, I actually did skip those rows. I'm going to see if I can color just real quick, just a little bit of that there and there and there. And that's going to be really important. You'll see when we start making the graph, and I'll explain that later. But I just want to make sure that you have that in your, as you line up your graph. Okay. Now the next thing we have to do is we have to figure out what to do with our vertical axis. Remember I told you when we made both of these axes to start with a single point. We're going to start this graph at 0. So we're going to start down here where the two axes come together, and I'm going to label it 0. Not all bar graphs are labeled as 0. Next, I'm going to count up each line from that point up as a single number. So if this is 0, then my next line would be 1, and then the next would be 2, and then keep labeling 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. I probably could have stopped at 10 because we're only going to be dealing with the Sunday to Sunday chart that I have here at the top. All right, so let's look at that chart. Let's look. How many days do you see that are sunny? Well, I see that Monday and Saturday are both sunny days. So I'm going to come down here, and I'm going to color in my graph. I think I'm going to use blue. So the fun thing about graphs is you can use different colors to make the bars. So when I count, I can count that there are 2 days that are sunny. Oh, I didn't like that. Let's try that again. So there's one day. So that would be for Monday. And then let's do Saturday. Right? How many days do you notice that are partly cloudy? Let's see. Sunday, Tuesday, Friday, and then the following Sunday. So that's 4 days. So I'm going to color in 4 squares. 1, 2, 3, 4. Notice that 4th square does line up with the line that is labeled 4. Okay. Let's see. Do I have any days that look like it's going to be plain cloudy? Actually, I don't. So on that column, I'm not going to put anything. Now let's look at how many days are rainy. Wednesday and Thursday are going to be rainy days. So that's 2 days. So now I'm going to color up 1 square and 2 squares to show my rainy days. Okay. So if we look at our graph, we're going to have a lot of partly cloudy days, and we're going to have the same number of sunny and rainy days. One of the things that I really want to point out to you, though, about a bar graph, and this is super important that you understand this because it is really important, is that in a bar graph, the bars never ever touch. So I just want to show you something. This is why we have those spaces. So here's my space right there. Okay. And the reason I want to show you that is because the bars don't touch. So it's interesting here, if I had something for cloudy days, there's always that extra space in between. You don't need to color in those spaces. They actually need to be blank. So I think I will erase those so that we can get rid of that and that. And so the bars don't touch. Okay? So the next things that we need to think about, I'm going to erase all my drawings down here. We don't need those anymore either, is in the bar graph. So let's go back to our graph. What we really need to do is look at the parts of the bar graph. We're missing some really important information on our graph. First of all, we have to have a label. Okay? A label tells us, so I'm going to put this down here. A label tells us what these are about. So these are about, I'm going to change it back to black. These are types of weather. So let me move that. Types of weather. Okay. Now, the next thing I have to have over here on this side with the numbers up on the vertical axis, I need to label and tell what these numbers are. These numbers are the numbers of days. Both of your axes really should have that label. And that's what it's called. It's called a label. I think I'll put one over here to remind you what the parts of the graph are. And this is a label. Okay. Now, the last thing that we need to add to our graph is probably one of the most important things, is a title. All bar graphs have to have a title. people won't know what the graph is about unless they have that title. So I want to title this. What could we title it? I could say types of weather in Raleigh. I could say weather in Raleigh, North Carolina. So there's a lot of different ways that you can do it, but the title has to summarize what the entire graph is about. I think for my graph, I just simply want to write weather in Raleigh, North Carolina. So I'm going to print that. It usually goes kind of up at the top. Weather in Raleigh. And remember, this is called the title of our graph. Okay.